Something powerful just happened at the NCAA Final Four. And it's got everyone talking. Caitlin Clark stepped in front of the cameras, and this time, she didn't hold back. No filters, no safe answers, just honesty. Fans are calling it bold. Analysts are calling it a statement. Because this wasn't just another interview, it was a message. A message about pressure, about expectations, and about everything that comes with being one of the most talked about players in basketball. So what exactly did she say? And why is this moment being seen as one of her most real and revealing yet? Let's break it all down. The setting alone made this moment feel different. The NCAA Final Four isn't just another stop on the basketball calendar. It's a stage where everything is amplified. The energy, the attention, the expectations. Every word spoken there carries more weight than usual. So when Caitlin Clark stepped into that spotlight for an interview, people were already locked in. Because at this point, she's not just a player being interviewed, she's a storyline, a central figure in the evolution of women's basketball. And moments like this, they shape how that story's told. From the very beginning of the interview, something stood out immediately. There was no hesitation, no overly careful tone, no attempt to play it safe. Instead, there was clarity, directness, a sense that she knew exactly what she wanted to say and wasn't going to hold back. That alone was enough to grab attention. Because in high-profile environments like this, most athletes take a different approach. They stay neutral, they give balanced answers, and they avoid anything that could turn into headlines. But Clark didn't follow that script. She leaned into the moment, and that's what made everything feel more real. As the questions began, she didn't just respond. She explained. She expanded. She gave insight into what it actually feels like to operate under this level of attention. The pressure wasn't brushed aside. It wasn't minimized. It was acknowledged, fully. And that honesty is what connected instantly with fans. Because everyone knows the pressure is there, the constant coverage, the expectations to perform every night, the comparisons, the scrutiny. But hearing her speak about it openly, that changed the tone of the conversation. It made everything feel more human, more grounded, more relatable. And that's not something you see often at this level. But here's where things started to shift even further. Because as the interview continued, it became clear that this wasn't just about explaining pressure, it was about redefining it. She didn't talk about pressure as something negative. She framed it differently, as something that comes with opportunity, as something that comes with being in a position to impact the game. And that perspective matters, because it shows control. Control over how the moment is perceived. Control over how expectations are handled. Control over how the narrative is shaped. And that's what separates players who are simply part of the game from players who influence it. Meanwhile, fans watching this unfold began reacting in real time. Clips started circulating almost immediately. Short segments highlighting key phrases. Moments where her tone stood out. Where her confidence came through clearly. And as those clips spread, so did the conversation. Because people weren't just hearing what she said, they were analyzing what it meant. Was this confidence? Was this a message to critics? Was this a statement about where she sees herself in the game? The answer? A little bit of everything. And that's what made the moment so powerful. Because it wasn't one-dimensional. It wasn't just an interview. It was layered, personal, competitive, strategic. And that combination is what drives engagement. But here's the key detail that really changed everything. Because through all of this, there was consistency. Her tone didn't shift. Her message didn't weaken. Her confidence didn't fade. From start to finish, it felt intentional, like she knew exactly how this would be received, and embraced it anyway. And that's where the didn't hold back narrative really took shape. Because it wasn't about saying something controversial. It was about being fully honest in a moment where most people would choose to be cautious. And that honesty created impact. Because now, the focus isn't just on what she does on the court, it's on how she carries herself off it, how she communicates, how she handles being one of the most talked about players in basketball. And that matters. Because in today's game, players aren't just athletes. They're voices, they're personalities, they're central figures in the stories that keep fans engaged. And this interview, it added another layer to that story. But here's where it all connects. Because moments like this don't stay isolated. They carry forward. into future games, into future conversations, into how players are perceived moving forward. And that's exactly what's happening here. Because now, Caitlin Clark isn't just being watched for her performance, she's being watched for her presence, her mindset, her ability to handle everything that comes with being at this level. And after this interview, one thing is clear. She's not just aware of the moment she's in, she's owning it. After that opening stretch of the interview, something became very clear. This wasn't going to be a typical conversation, because Caitlin Clark wasn't just responding to questions, she was setting the tone, and that tone carried through every answer that followed. There was a sense of control, not just over what she was saying, but over how she wanted the moment to be understood. And that's what made this part of the interview even more powerful. One, because as the questions shifted toward competition and expectations, her responses didn't become more cautious. They became even more direct. She spoke about the level of competition she faces now, the physicality, the speed of the game, the constant adjustments required at the highest level. But instead of framing those things as challenges that hold her back, she framed them as challenges that push her forward. And that's a key distinction, because it shows mindset, a mindset focused on growth, not limitation. And that's exactly what fans picked up on. Because when a player speaks like that, it sends a message, not just to fans, but to opponents, to the entire WNBA. A message that says, I see what's in front of me, and I'm ready for it. And that's where the interview started to feel like something more than just a media appearance. And it started to feel like a statement about where she stands in the game right now. But here's where things got even more interesting, because the conversation didn't stay focused on just her. It expanded to the league, to the growth of women's basketball, to the attention the game is receiving right now. And again, her tone stayed consistent, confident, clear, forward-thinking. She didn't just talk about her own journey, she connected it to something bigger, the evolution of the sport. And that's what elevated the moment. Because now, it wasn't just about Caitlin Clark as an individual, it was about what she represents. A new level of visibility, a new level of engagement, a new era where women's basketball is reaching audiences it hasn't reached before. And she acknowledged that, openly, without hesitation, which is something not every player is comfortable doing. Because stepping into that level of representation comes with responsibility. But Clark didn't shy away from it. She leaned into it. And that's what made this part of the interview stand out even more. Meanwhile, fans watching this unfold were reacting in real time. Because this wasn't just confident, it was composed. There was no sense of pressure in her delivery, no sign of hesitation, just clarity. And that kind of composure under the spotlight, that's rare, especially at this stage of a career. But here's the key moment that really pushed everything forward. Because as the interview continued, she addressed expectations directly, not indirectly, not vaguely, directly. She acknowledged that expectations are high, that people are watching closely, that every performance is being evaluated, but instead of pushing back against that, she accepted it as part of the position she's in. And that acceptance is powerful because it shows awareness, and more importantly, it shows confidence in her ability to handle it. And that's what changed the tone of the conversation completely. Because now, it's not about whether she feels the pressure, it's about how she manages it. And based on this interview, she's managing it with control, with intention, with a clear understanding of what's at stake. But here's where it all connects back to the bigger picture. Because moments like this don't just impact perception in the short term, they shape how a player is viewed moving forward. And this interview, it added a new layer to that perception, a layer of leadership. Because speaking like this, on a stage like the NCAA Final Four, with this level of attention, that's not just confidence, that's presence, the kind of presence that defines stars. Meanwhile, the clips continued spreading, more views, more reactions, more discussions. Because people weren't just watching anymore, they were analyzing, breaking down what she said, interpreting what it means for her future, for the league, for the direction of the game as a whole. And that's what makes this moment so significant. Because it's not just about what was said, it's about what it represents. A shift from potential to presence, from being talked about to leading the conversation. And that shift, it changes everything. By the time the interview reached its midpoint, something had clearly shifted. This was no longer just a strong appearance. It had become a defining moment, because the way Caitlin Clark was speaking, it wasn't just answering questions, it was shaping perception. And that's a different level entirely, because once a player starts shaping perception, they're no longer reacting to the narrative, they're controlling it. And that's exactly what was happening here. As the questions continued, the conversation moved deeper into competition, into what it actually takes to succeed at the highest level of the WNBA. And once again, Clark didn't hesitate. She didn't generalize. She didn't simplify. She spoke with detail about preparation, about understanding the game at a deeper level, about how every team approaches her differently now. Because at this stage, she's not just another player. She's a focal point, a player that opponents plan for, adjust to, might target defensively. And instead of avoiding that reality, she acknowledged it directly, which is something that stood out immediately, because many players would downplay that level of attention. But Clark didn't. She embraced it. And that's what made this part of the interview so powerful, because it showed awareness, not just of her own game, but of how she fits into the larger competitive landscape. Meanwhile, fans were picking up on something else too. Consistency. Her tone hadn't changed. Her message hadn't softened. From the beginning of the interview to this point, everything felt aligned, clear, focused, intentional. And that kind of consistency builds credibility, because it shows that what she's saying isn't reactive. It's deliberate. But here's where things took another step forward, because the conversation shifted toward criticism, not directly naming anyone, but addressing the reality that comes with being at the center of attention. And once again, she didn't avoid it. She didn't deflect. She didn't dismiss it. She acknowledged it as part of the game, as part of being in her position. And that response mattered because it showed balance, confidence without denial, awareness without defensiveness. And that's not easy to maintain, especially in a moment this visible. But Clark handled it with control, which added another layer to how this interview was being received. Because now it wasn't just about confidence, it was about composure. And composure under pressure is what defines elite athletes. But here's the key turning point in this part of the interview. Because as the discussion continued, it became clear that this wasn't just about the present. It was about the future, about where the game is heading, about what this moment represents in a larger sense. And once again, Clark leaned into it. She didn't separate herself from that future. She positioned herself within it, as part of the growth, as part of the evolution. And that's significant because it shows understanding. Understanding that her role goes beyond individual performance, that she's part of something bigger. And that's what elevated this interview even further. Because now, it wasn't just about a player speaking confidently. It was about a player recognizing her impact and embracing it. Meanwhile, the reaction continued to build. Because clips from this part of the interview started spreading even faster. The quotes, the tone, the delivery, everything was being highlighted. And the conversation around it kept growing. Because people weren't just watching, they were interpreting, trying to understand what this moment means moving forward. For Clark, for the league, for the direction of women's basketball as a whole. And that's what makes moments like this so important. Because they don't just exist in the moment, they carry forward into future games, into future narratives, into how players are viewed long-term. And this one, it's already doing that. Because now, Caitlin Clark isn't just being talked about as a performer, she's being talked about as a presence, a leader, a central figure in the evolution of the game. And that shift, it changes everything. But even with all of that, there's still more to this story. Because the final part of the interview, that's where everything comes together. By the time the interview reached its final stretch, everything had already built into something bigger than expected. What started as a simple media moment at the NCAA Final Four had turned into a defining statement. And that final stretch, that's where everything connected. Because now, Caitlin Clark wasn't just responding to questions, she was reinforcing everything she had already shown. Confidence, clarity, control, and most importantly, consistency. Her tone never changed. From the first answer to the last, there was no hesitation, no second guessing, just a clear understanding of the moment she was in. And that's what made this part of the interview so powerful. not because it confirmed something important. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't a one-off moment of confidence. This was intentional, a reflection of how she sees herself in the game right now. But here's where things became even more impactful, because the conversation started circling back to the bigger picture, to the growth of the game, to the level of attention women's basketball is receiving. And once again, Clark didn't step away from that responsibility. She stepped into it. She acknowledged that the game is changing, that more people are watching, that expectations are higher than ever before. And instead of treating that as pressure, she treated it as progress. And that perspective matters because it shifts how everything is viewed, from something heavy to something meaningful, and from something overwhelming to something worth embracing. And that's what makes leaders stand out, not just how they perform, but how they frame the moment. Meanwhile, fans were reacting strongly to this part of the interview because it felt complete, like everything she had been saying from the beginning was now coming together. A full picture of her mindset, her approach, her understanding of where she stands in the game. And that kind of clarity, it builds trust because people can see exactly what she represents. But here's the key moment that really stood out, because toward the end, the conversation touched on something deeper: legacy. Not directly in those words, but in meaning, in the idea of what all of this could turn into. And once again, Clark didn't avoid it. She didn't push it away as something for the future. And she acknowledged that what's happening now matters, that these moments are part of something bigger, and that awareness is rare, especially at this stage, because many players focus only on the present. But Clark showed something different, a balance between present performance and future impact. And that's what elevated this interview beyond just a media appearance. Because now it wasn't just about what she said, it was about what it represents. A player stepping fully into her role, not just as a competitor, but as a central figure in the game's evolution. Meanwhile, the reaction continued to grow across platforms. Clips from the final part of the interview spread quickly, because people recognized the moment, recognized that this wasn't just another interview. It was a shift in how Caitlin Clark is being viewed, from rising star to established presence. And that shift, it changes everything moving forward, because now expectations rise even higher, not just for performance, but for leadership, for consistency, for the ability to carry this level of attention over time. And that's the next challenge. But based on this interview, she's ready for it, because nothing about this moment felt uncertain. Nothing felt forced. Everything felt aligned. And that's what makes it so impactful. Because when a player reaches that level of clarity, they don't just react to the game, they influence it. But here's the bigger picture. Because beyond Caitlin Clark herself, this moment reflects something larger: the growth of women's basketball, the increasing attention, the expanding audience, and the fact that moments like this now carry real weight. Because more people are watching. More people are listening, more people are invested. And that's what turns an interview into a moment that shapes perception, that drives conversation, that builds anticipation for what comes next. And that's exactly what this has done. Because now the focus shifts forward to the next game, the next performance, the next moment where everything she said gets put into action. At this point, everything has been said. The interview is over. The clips are circulating, the reactions are pouring in, and now we've entered the phase that matters most. What happens next? Because moments like this don't just exist on their own. They create expectations, and expectations change everything. For Caitlin Clark, this interview didn't just shape perception, it raised the standard. Now, in every game she plays is viewed through a different lens, not just as another performance, but as a continuation of the message she just delivered. Because when you speak with that level of confidence, people expect to see it backed up, consistently. And that's where the real challenge begins, not in what was said, but in what follows. Meanwhile, the WNBA is also feeling the impact of this moment, because players like Clark don't just influence their own narrative, they influence the entire league. More attention, more engagement, more people tuning in to see what happens next. And that's exactly what's happening now. Fans who watch the interview aren't just interested in the words, they're interested in the outcome. How does she perform next? How does the league respond to this level of attention? How does the competition evolve around her? These are the questions driving the next phase. And that's what makes this moment so powerful. Because it creates momentum. Momentum that extends beyond one interview, into games, into rivalries, into the overall growth of the sport. But here's where things get even more interesting. Because while Clark is stepping into higher expectations, the rest of the league is responding. Players are watching, not just what she does, but how she's being talked about, the attention, the recognition, the way she's positioned within the game. And naturally, they react, competitively. Because in a league full of elite talent, no one wants to be overlooked. No one wants to feel like the spotlight belongs to just one player. And that creates intensity. Real intensity. The kind that raises the level of competition across the board. Because now, it's not just about winning. It's about proving something. Proving value. Proving impact. Proving that the game is bigger than one narrative. And that's how sports grow. Through competition, through response, through players pushing each other to new levels. And that's exactly what this moment is setting up. But here's the key challenge. Because with momentum comes pressure, not just for Clark, but for everyone involved. Because now the spotlight is brighter, the expectations are higher, the margin for error feels smaller, every performance is analyzed, every decision is discussed. Every moment becomes part of a larger story, and handling that level of attention isn't easy. But it's necessary, because that's what comes with growth. Meanwhile, fans are more engaged than ever, not just watching games, but following narratives, tracking performances, comparing expectations to results. Because now there's something at stake, not just wins and losses, but perception. Will Clark live up to the confidence she showed in that interview? Will she maintain that level under pressure? Will she turn this moment into something lasting? These are the questions driving engagement right now. And that engagement is exactly what the league needs. Because it keeps the conversation alive. It keeps fans invested. It keeps the momentum building. But here's the most important part of all. Because beyond the pressure, beyond the expectations, beyond the narrative, there's something bigger happening. A shift. A shift in how players are viewed. In the past, athletes were often defined solely by performance, points, wins, statistics. But now, they're also defined by presence, by how they carry themselves, by how they communicate their mindset, by how they handle the spotlight. And this interview showed that Clark understands that she's not just performing, she's representing a new era, a new level of visibility, a new way of engaging with the game and its audience. And that's what makes this moment so important. Because it's not just about what she said, it's about what it signals moving forward. A player stepping fully into her role, and a league stepping into a new level of attention. But even with all of that, there's still one final piece left. Because beyond the momentum, beyond the expectations, beyond the narrative, there's one question that defines everything. What does this moment become? At the end of everything? After the interview? After the reactions? After the conversation that spread across the basketball world? We're left with something bigger than just a moment. We're left with a shift. Because what Caitlin Clark did at the NCAA Final Four wasn't just speak honestly. She changed how she's being viewed, not just as a player, but as a presence, as someone who understands the moment she's in and is fully willing to step into it. And that changes everything. Because in sports, there's a difference between being part of the conversation and leading it. And after this interview, Clark is leading it. But here's the key detail. Because leading the conversation comes with responsibility, a different level of expectation, a different level of scrutiny, a different level of pressure. Because now every performance carries more weight. Every game becomes part of a larger narrative. Every moment is analyzed in the context of everything she just said. And that's the challenge of stepping into this role. Not just delivering once, but delivering consistently. But here's where things get even more interesting. Because this moment isn't just about Caitlin Clark, it's about what she represents. The growth of the game, the expansion of women's basketball into new audiences, the increasing visibility of players and their voices. And that's what makes this moment so important. Because it reflects a larger shift, a shift in how the game is experienced. Because fans aren't just watching for highlights anymore, They're connecting with players, with their mindset, with their perspective, with their journey. And this interview provided exactly that. A clear look into how Clark sees herself within the game, and how she approaches everything that comes with it. And that connection, it builds something powerful: engagement, loyalty, investment in what happens next. Meanwhile, the WNBA is also feeling the impact of this shift, because moments like this don't stay isolated. They influence the entire league. More attention, more conversation, more people tuning in to see what happens next. And that's exactly what's happening now, because this isn't just about what Clark said. It's about what comes next. The next game, the next performance, the next moment where everything she expressed gets tested. And that's where the real story continues. But here's the most important takeaway. Because beyond the interview, beyond the reaction, and beyond the narrative, there's one undeniable truth. The game is evolving faster than ever before. More people are watching, more people are engaged, more people are invested in the stories behind the game. And players like Caitlin Clark are at the center of that evolution, not just because of what they do on the court, but because of how they carry themselves off it, how they communicate, how they handle the spotlight, and how they embrace the moment instead of avoiding it. And that's exactly what this interview showed. A player who isn't just reacting to the attention, but using it, owning it, turning it into something that moves the game forward. But here's the final piece of the puzzle. Because moments like this don't define a career on their own. They start something, they create momentum, they build expectation. But what happens next? That's what defines everything. Can she maintain this level of presence? Can she continue performing under this level of attention? Can she turn this moment into something that lasts? Those are the questions that matter now. And the answers will come not from interviews, not from headlines, but from the game itself, from the performances that follow, from the consistency that turns moments into legacy. And that's what makes this moment so exciting. Because it's not the end, it's the beginning of a new phase. A phase where Caitlin Clark isn't just part of the story, she's helping write it. And if this interview is any indication, that story is going to be unforgettable. So, what do you think about this interview? Did Caitlin Clark just take control of the narrative? Or was this simply confidence from a player who knows her value? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because this conversation is only getting bigger. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the biggest stories in basketball. We're covering everything, from powerful interviews to game-changing performances and the future of the sport. Share this video with your friends, and let's see who really understands what's happening beyond the headlines. Because in today's game, it's not just about what happens on the court, it's about the message behind it. Find hashtag Caitlin Clark, hashtag NCAA Final Four, hashtag WNBA, hashtag basketball interview, hashtag sports talk, hashtag WNB, a news hashtag women in sports, hashtag basketball fans, hashtag viral sports, hashtag game changer at WNBA, at NCAA, at ESPN, at Bleacher Report, at SportsCenter.